Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. Treasury IRS provide gross receipts safe harbor for employers claiming the employee retention credit. IR 2021-167, August 10, 2021, Washington. The Department of the Treasury, and the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, today issued a safe harbor allowing employers to exclude certain items from their gross receipts solely for determining eligibility for the Employee Retention Credit, the ERC. Revenue Procedure 2021-33, there's a link to that here, provides a safe harbor permitting employers to exclude certain amounts from gross receipts solely for determining eligibility for the ERC. These amounts are the amount of the Forgiveness of Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP loan, the Shuttered venue operators grants under the Economic Aid to Hard-Hit Small Businesses, Nonprofits, and Venues Act, and restaurant revitalization grants under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. An employer elects to apply the safe harbor by excluding these amounts solely for determining whether it is an eligible employer for a calendar quarter for purposes of claiming the ERC on its employment tax return. Revenue Procedure 2021-33 requires employers to apply the safe harbor consistently for determining eligibility for the ERC. The employer must exclude the amounts from their gross receipts for each calendar quarter in which gross receipts are relevant to determining eligibility to claim the ERC. The employer claiming the credit must also apply the safe harbor to all employers treated as single employer under the aggregation rules. An employer is not required to apply the safe harbor, and the safe harbor does not permit the exclusion of these amounts from gross receipts for any other federal tax purpose. Employers claim the ERC on their employment tax return, generally the Form 941, Employer's Quarterly Federally Tax Return. There's a link to that quarterly return here, or Employment Tax Return, generally the Form 941X, Adjusted Employer's Quarterly Federal Tax Return, or Claim of Refund. There's a link to that here as well. Revenue Procedure 2021-33 updates and amplifies guidance provided in Notice 2021-20. There's a link to that here, which addresses the ERC as it applies to qualified wages paid after March 12, 2020 and before January 1st, 2021. Notice 2021-23. There's a link to that here, which addresses the ERC as it applies to qualified wages paid after December 31st, 2020 and before July 1st, 2021. And Notice 2021-49. There's a link to that here, which addresses the ERC as it applies to qualified wages paid after June 30th, 2021 and before January 1st, 2022. Treasury and the IRS continue to closely monitor pending legislation related to the ERC and will provide additional information as needed.